I'll go tally the votes. I need you to bring me your torch. This is where we learn who is the ultimate survivor. I'll read the votes.
At first glance, this episode may seem like be a letdown for some, but upon further reflection, there is actually a lot more to unpack and speculate about. So, Phil and Ollie, let's just get right into it. I got to share my thoughts about Sean's, let's say, orchestrated quit with Randy when we did our episode for recap earlier this week. Make sure if you're listening to our channel, go ahead and click that subscribe button if you are a fan of this season of Survivor and any season of Survivor, so you can be notified about all of our videos. But Phil, let me start with you. Another quit. Were you shocked?
Was I shocked? Yes, I was incredibly shocked, especially coming from Sean. It's like really surprising. You felt like he was all the way in it. He was not in a terrible spot. It was almost completely out of nowhere. So surprising is absolutely the word that I would use. Also disappointing. I mean, like it sucks. You know, you go all the way out there to quit just to sit at Ponderosa. Like you're not going to see your husband anytime soon. But
right.
Let me not get started.
Ollie, you had a big reaction. What's going through your mind?
I see. There is part of me just because I loved Sean. Like I was really sad to see him go. Obviously, the way that the episode was kind of constructed and when it happened, it was such a big shock because obviously it did kind of come out of left field. Like it must have been like a spur of the moment thing happening at that tribal for Sean to do that. But yeah, I was really sad. There is part of me that's like saying I don't want to say it's a quit. But
what do you?
There was.
If I can ask, Ollie, what do you call it?
See, this is the thing because it would be he technically asked to be voted out. I think it was in itself there was the element of him quitting, but I think he was still trying to do it in the logistics of I still want to remain. He still wanted to try and keep the morals of the game of being like, look, just vote me out, make it easier for yourselves. But obviously in kind of this new era, people will look at that as a quit. So it is kind of that thing of he was damned if he did and he damned if he didn't in that sense. It was always going to look bad.
I'm so sorry, Ollie. I do not think that is a new era change. That new era, this is a quit. New era, old era, mid era. This is a quit, dude. This is so disappointing. People should not be going on Survivor to ask the entire rest of their tribe to vote them off. It's really sad.
No, let me rephrase that. Not a new era thing for the game. I'm looking at it more so from a certain person's point of view. Because there is someone that is more openly annoyed about it to the person. Jeff Probst. So it's that thing. But either way, it was not good. It was sad. It was sad to see.
You know, it made me think of Fair Play from Heroes versus Villains, that first opening night tribal where, if I remember correctly, and someone in our comments or in here too, I believe he also kind of asked to be voted out for a very almost similar reason, which was family, right? That had something that played into it. We'll see what Jeff says. You know, when Hannah voted out at the first episode of this season, Jeff did say first person to be voted out, or take a look at the new Lulu tribe, Hannah, first person to be voted out. I think that's going to happen again this episode. We'll see if this changed anything, but I mean, what a tribal. One of you said it best, right? Like it came out of nowhere. And I know that some people are speculating when you listen to more official podcasts, people are speculating that they did set it up in the edit. I really tried hard to sort of find the clues. I couldn't find anything more than very general game talk that could be taken either way, right? Like Sean knew he was on the bottom. He knew that he was going to have to use his social game to infiltrate during the tribe swap. And that was pretty much it. What we kept hearing from him was, these Reba tribe that I ended up with, they are strong, and I'm going to have to find the cracks in there. And it seemed like he did.
Yeah. This is the thing, like the whole thing, like throughout the episode, I really do strongly believe people can speculate it. From my perspective, you didn't see Sean wanting to quit. Like you didn't see it throughout the episode. And because I remember watching it and I was so shocked because I remember then thinking about all of the events that had occurred during the episode. And it was like, why do all that work then? Why work really hard with J. Maya? Why really work hard on Dee and Julie? Like, why do that? So that's why I think it was a spur of the moment thing.
You make a really great point. Think about all of the other people that are going to be affected by this quit. Think of all of the people who were affected by the Hannah Rose quit in the first episode, right? It's not just the person who leaves whose game is impacted. This is why when there's that strategy of, oh, we have to vote or idle out this person because they're too close to this other person who's our bigger target. That's why that's a strategy. It's because you weaken someone's numbers. So by Sean removing himself from the game, he is affecting other people's games. And let's talk about Dee, who ended up not being able to get back onto the right side of the votes. Dee was interested in J. Maya's plan of let's take this opportunity to blindside Sifu. However, at Tribal Council, when Sean started going into I want to be voted out, I asked that you write my name down, there was some exchanged glances at Tribal Council of people being like, what do we do? And let's face it, it did not help that they all agreed that they would be talking as if Sean were the one going home in the first place. So what do you think, Phil? Do you think it was kind of hard in that moment for the castaways to be like, okay, is this all part of the game, or like, is this all part of the plan? Like, what's going on here?
I think that's really sort of like interesting thing to look at. I even thought myself, looking at Sean's exit interviews, I was like, okay, is this guy going to go on an exit interview and say, it was all a charade. I was trying to snow Sifu and they actually voted me out. That's not ultimately what he said. But I do think that there could be some elements of, especially with Dee's vote specifically. Yes, I think that you have the captions there. She says, Sifu. She's telling Julie that she should still vote Sifu, and I think that comes from maybe a little bit of her thinking that this could be a charade, but I also think that part of it was like, hey, we came up with this plan. Like, yeah, I think it's exactly what it was. Now that you said that, I think it's exactly what it was. It's my thought.
That it was all part of the charade?
Yes, or rather that Dee thought that it was part of the charade.
Oh, yes. Oh, I would not want to be Dee after this, but this is like the best thing. Yes, the ending of this episode to some may seem like a big letdown, right? We always hope that Tribal Councils or the episodes themselves end in a big, exciting fashion. But that being said, even though we had something like this that did end with something that was a bit of a letdown, in my opinion, that doesn't mean there's still so much game left to play. And I think that the dynamics that's to come out of this vote is going to be very exciting for the viewers to watch. So let's hold on those when we get into predictions for the rest of the episode. But let's talk about the strategy of wanting to vote Sifu out, right? So new Reba lost the immunity challenge, and J. Maya said, hey, this is a really great time to get Sifu out and make a big move. She feared that he may have had an idol. Do you think this was the right strategy? Ollie, I'll go to you.
I mean, it's J. Maya, so I'm like, yes. J. Maya can do no wrong. No, I think for J. Maya, it was good. Because actually, I think the new Reba actually benefited J. Maya the most. Because I think that the girls were always kind of like keeping J. Maya close, because I think Sifu was always going to be the first one, because then after that, Dee and Julie were going to try and hold the power. At least Dee wanted it to be this kind of thing of she can go with the women or she can go with her four. But I definitely think, even though we haven't seen much of kind of Sifu in the last couple of episodes, it was very clear to me, at least, this episode specifically, that there was a J. Maya and Sifu like rivalry Not like Bruce and Katora, but there was something between them. Like there's some tension, mainly from J Maya's side. So I enjoy it. Like I think it was a good move on J Maya's part because I think she knows that she can't trust Sifu that much. So it kind of made sense.
Phil, what about you?
Yeah, I think that J Maya was on a really good run with this new Reba tribe. I think that she was really getting along with Sean. She was integrating herself with the women who at one point they were with Austin and Drew. And so I think it's great that she was using this opportunity to get closer to them while they didn't have those other two there. And sorry, I heard the little grumbling there. I think that she was doing a really great job. Unfortunately, I do think this is sort of what you were saying before. Sean I think that he kind of screwed up her game because I think that everything that she set up gets crumbled when Sean decides to go home, and it's like, okay, well, her pushing for Sifu is going to look bad. She was not into that at all, and I think it's going to only make her like sort of push J Maya to the side even more, and then all the connection that she built with Sean is for naught. He's gone. So I think that I agree with you all. I think that she was doing fantastic, but I think that Sean sort of screwed it up for her. I think that she's in a really bad spot now, if I'm being completely honest. That said, I think that her only sort of saving grace is that Dee voted for Sifu.
Yes.
And if he figures that out, that can be that's just a new target for Sifu. And if J Maya wants to jump on that, it can be, or it could just be the Dee versus Sifu battle, and J Maya can sort of fade in the background. That's what I'm hoping for. But yes, I'm also a huge J Maya fan. And again, super disappointing that Sean decided to quit and sort of toppled what she was building.
Sorry, I was just going to say, I really don't think J Maya is going to go on Sifu's side. I feel like after this episode, you see that. I'd be shocked to see if J Maya and Sifu work together. But that would I think there'd have to be something big for that.
I mean, let's see if she's able to adapt her game. My thing is that I think that Sifu is definitely going to find out that Dee is responsible for the vote. I think we're going to see that in the very first scene, right? Like, I think Dee is going to say it was her. And let's see if she said, well, J Maya orchestrated the plan. Like, I was just following J Maya's plan, and see how that paints the target.
I have one theory as well, actually, on this situation.
Oh, great.
Because when we were watching the pre-tribal thing, the one person who wasn't for it was Mama J, Julie.
Mm-hmm.
She was the one that really didn't want to. So I think if this is, again, we don't know, I could see Julie being the one to possibly, she could even be the one to throw Dee under the bus and say, hey, this was the plan. I actually didn't want you to go, but I was just sticking with the numbers. Because I feel like you saw this inner turmoil with Julie, which I think I'm really interested to see what comes of that next episode.
Right. I mean, actually, you brought up something that I was kind of thinking about, which was Dee and Julie's relationship now. Like, what is this going to mean for their alliance? They were very, very tight. Right? Like they were ride or dies together. And I think I'm very interested to see how this plays out. I wonder if there's any blame that's going to be shared between the two of them. But I found it interesting. Julie and Dee had this very solid alliance, right? Here comes J Maya. Here's a plan that she wants to do. And I feel like there may have been a misstep from Dee to really hear out the perspective of Julie. Again, this is all from the edit. We don't know what other conversations were had in that large amount of time leading up to tribal council. But I do wonder why Dee was so on the train of J Maya's plan of voting out Sifu, where her very tight alliance member was thinking, I don't think this is the best move for us. And I do think it's a very small miscalculation from Dee, but we'll see how it plays out. Well, there's another. The other thing is that there are other tribes, because we did a tribe swap. Were you two happy, Phil? I want to go to you. Were you happy with how the tribe swap ended up?
I love that we got to see a true tribe swap. It's been so long since we've done a true tribe swap. Last season, we got like a tiny bit of it. Okay, one person to each tribe. But at least this was, hey, buffs on a platter, grab them. What do we got? It was definitely a sort of lukewarm swap with so many people sort of sticking together from those big untouched tribes of Reba and Bello. But I do think that it's interesting. I think it's interesting to have, a 2-4-1 splits and then one 2-2-1. I think that it's interesting because 8 people in this game, in being the 2 groups of 4, I feel like they're like not being able to meet people until the merge. And I think it's really interesting. And I'm curious to see how that's going to affect their long-term game versus Emily, who has gotten to meet a whole bunch more people by, being the one on a whole new tribe. Obviously the same with Caleb. But even in that 2-2-1 split, they're getting to integrate a little bit more with the other tribes. And I'm very curious to see if that's going to be substantial come the merge.
Yeah. I thought it was actually very cool that the 3 original Lulu members, first of all, the fact that they were all split up to begin with was like very, very interesting in my perspective. We had a comment on our last video from Maggie054. Thanks for commenting and thanks for watching. And they said that they are rooting for Caleb and Emily, and hopefully during the tribe swap, they are on the same tribe. That didn't happen, but I don't think that's a bad thing. I actually think that this is great for Emily and Caleb's narratives, both respectively, because they had this amazing thing going where Caleb sort of gave Emily some advice, right, on Lulu about maybe where her game is sort of going off the rails a little bit, and we saw Emily take that advice, and now we get to see, is the advice working? Did the advice pay off? Because they're both alone now on their own tribes. So it's going to be cool to see this story. And I think that the original Lulu members, Sean, Caleb, and Emily, got very lucky that even if they ended up on a tribe with 4 original members from Bello or Reba, there is still divides there, right? On New Reba, the divide was between D, Julie, and then on the other side was Jay, Maya, and Sifu. On the new Lulu tribe, it was between Bruce and Jake on this side, and then Katurah and Bruce, Jake, Kelly in the middle, and then Katurah on the other side. On New Bello, it was Austin and Drew versus Brando and Kendra. So it's pretty interesting that all 3 Lulu people kind of got at a safe ranking in their tribes.
Yeah, they really, I think the swap mainly benefited the kind of original Lulu because, and as well how kind of luck had it, even though there was 4 people from Bello, as you said, there's such divide that we didn't really see it this episode. We didn't really see Katurah explain how much she disliked Bruce. I didn't see it at all. I wish I saw more of how much Katurah disliked Bruce. I wanted a whole long rant about it.
Are you being sarcastic?
Yes. I was like, really?
I was like, you must.
Yeah. No, but that's the bit, like, that was basically Bello. New Lulu. That was basically what we saw from them. And I actually think, when you look at the whole grand scheme of things, I actually think Katurah saying that to Caleb actually benefited her more, even though it looks like she isn't in a good spot. Because, as Caleb said, Katurah was the one that had been the most straight up and had been like, actually, no, here's how the dynamics are. So we'll see.
I think it's interesting because it does seem like Katurah is out of the numbers. That's really my biggest worry. Because you're right. I think that Caleb definitely appreciated getting honest truth from Katurah versus, sort of the more half truths, or even Jake straight up said to him, was like, hey, I can't tell you everything right now, but I like you, whatever. I think that Katurah was the most upfront with him, but at the end of the day, if he has 3 others coming up to him saying, hey, we want to vote out Katurah, I think that he's going to go with the numbers. That's my thought. But I do think that sort of little connection that was made there was beneficial or true. The connection was real. But I'm afraid that the numbers might get to him more than honesty.
Well, I think it also depends on what Kelly does, because obviously Kelly was still in the middle. She was in the middle in Original Bello, and she still has that connection with Katora, even though it doesn't. Everyone's rooting for Kelly, and I'm kind of like, I'm still unsure of her because I don't really know where she stands, but she has the options. So it will depend on where Kelly goes. If Kelly's like, actually, she finds out, yeah, Caleb would like to go with Katora, that could be a free for me, sorted. But it all depends on what happens moving forward.
Oh, I am eager for this new Lulu tribe to hit a tribal council at some point because I want to see these dynamics, right? I can't really for sure say who my favorite castaway is at this moment because I like to see everyone go to tribal to see how they do. Like that's a huge part of the game that we're missing out from a handful of these players still.
Yeah.
I do think that, yes, the conversation between Caleb and Katora was significant. But the one that I think was maybe slightly more significant to Caleb's game was that of Jake. So we saw that he had a conversation with Jake where Jake was like, I'm going to be cautious about how much information I give Caleb because he's right. You never know what other people may use against you later in the game. So he basically just says, and this can go either of two ways, but he basically says to Caleb, I'm not going to give you a name, but if you give me a name, that's who we're voting out.
Yeah, it was a weird one because obviously it is kind of it's Jake going, here's the olive branch, but also in the same breath, I think we've seen in confessionals that Jake wants to play a bit villainous. So it's one of those things of, is that going to be Jake saying, Caleb, give us a name? So then Jake can go, oh, by the way, Caleb threw your name out. Like, that's the thing. Like, that's the kind of dagger, like the rock in a hard place that we don't know yet. What are Jake's true intentions with that?
Yeah, it's true. I mean, I got the sense from the edit that Caleb said Jake doesn't seem to overly trust him at this point. That's fine. New tribe. But he does say that Jake seems open to building a relationship with him. And when I say him, I mean Caleb. So I don't know if I got that same. Do either of you remember? Did we get that same sort of like, I'm willing to work with this person when it came to Katura?
You're talking Katora and Caleb.
Yeah.
I think that we definitely got from Caleb that he was very appreciative of her being more straight up with him. And so I think that sort of implies that he could be willing to work with her because she's giving him actual information. But again, he could just be information diving. You know, he definitely did not say, I don't believe that he said straight up, I want to work with Katora. She's, up there for someone I want to work with. Which I do think she was very appreciative of. He was very appreciative of getting real info.
No, I think it was more so. I don't think either one he said like, oh yeah, that builds trust. That makes me want to work with them. I think it was just more so that he appreciated Katora wasn't doing because from Katora and Caleb's conversation, it sounded like everyone else had kind of been giving Caleb info, but also making Caleb aware, like, there has to be the barrier though. We can't just do it. Whereas Katora went, why? Here it is. And I think that's where Caleb was like, okay, I appreciate that because you haven't actually you haven't given me that barrier at first. You've kind of gone, no, there's no point. I want to build trust with you. Mm-hmm. So I think that's why I think it could benefit her more, but it also depends on what the others do. If Jake, Bruce, and Kelly did still decide, okay, we're going to let you know stuff, but there's still this barrier. If they still allowed the barrier, then I think Caleb would be like, well, I want to go with Katora then because she's lifted the barrier. So she's the first person I want to go to. But again, it depends on the future and what develops in the game.
Yeah, 1,000%. And I agree. I think Caleb would have an easier time going with the majority in this situation. So yes, Katora did give him really valuable information about that divide, but now he also knows approximately where the majority is. And we don't see a lot of, I'm looking through my notes. I want to make sure, because I try to note take almost everything, but I don't think we see a lot of Katurah strategizing with other people other than Caleb.
No.
And I'm talking about this episode alone in particular.
Yeah, and we also get the line from her when she says, "Oh, I have to wonder what's going on because I see Caleb hanging out with two others and not me." So she's definitely noticing that she is, and we are being signaled that she's slowly being pushed on the outside. It's really interesting to sort of look at it from that perspective. Also, let's remember, Jake and Caleb, their journey did not start here. Their journey started at Sweat and Savvy. They did Sweat and Savvy together, and that is going, I think, again, it's going to prove substantial. There's no way that those early connections just, dissipate. I guess they could, obviously, if they get a bad feel for each other. But I think them even getting like a generally good feel for one another and having this Sweat and Savvy in their back pocket where they've already connected, they've already seen each other and made, it's the things that you say to people when you're doing these little journeys. Or, oh yeah, we're together or whatever. But it was still said. So I imagine that this is going to actually take form, but only time will tell.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that Sweat and Savvy thing, I think it may have actually really changed the instead of Sweat versus Savvy. I think this really changed the idea that both tribes were doing it at the same time. Almost, it was so close to feeling like it was like this team project, even though they weren't helping each other, but they both were there to witness the other tribe go through the same thing, and they have that shared experience. So Phil, I think you're right. I think that actually is a great groundwork to build a relationship off of. We also have to talk about the fact that Bruce is really starting to pick up on, more so in this edited episode, the fact that Katurah may not be his biggest fan. And I think this was interesting. I think, again, if we're going to point out a slight misstep in game, I think Katurah's instinct to interrupt Bruce and Caleb when I think it was like Caleb was asking Bruce to explain his version of the journey to him, and Katurah intervened and said, "Oh, can we hear about Brandon's first?" Before Katurah, Brandon's not in the game anymore. So I was just thinking, hold that thought until after. But listen, I understand. It may not seem like it in the moment, but Bruce was right to pick up on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's wild. Sometimes, like, what is on the surface a smart move, right, to go, oh, hold on, before we hear from you, let's hear from Caleb what Brandon says, is not always a good move. Like, was that smart for her to say, oh, okay, let's cross-examine Caleb's story about what Brandon told them to what Bruce told us? I think that's actually very smart.
Yes.
It is a bad move. Yes. It is also a bad move. It can be smart and bad at the same time. I think that was a terrible move because it showed all of her cards.
I don't think it was a bad move to do it. I think it was a bad move when she did it. Had she done it privately with Caleb and just gone, can we, like, when they were chatting and been like, can I get your event, like what Brandon told you about the journey? And then just say, Bruce said this, we want to correlate that it's correct. So I think that would have been smart. Like, that would have been a good thing to do. Smart to ask it, yes. Bad to when she did it, yes. Yeah. Should have been in private.
Yeah, I agree. And I also think Katurah may have underestimated how much information she would get by Bruce walking through the story again. Because that's an opportunity where, let's say Bruce had lied about what the journey was. See if his stories line up, right? The first time he told it versus the next time he told it. And he has an excuse to tell it again because there's someone new to the tribe. So I agree. I don't think it was the right moment. I do think it was a smart move, though. But yeah, Bruce picks up on this and he knows, okay, Katurah, not a big fan of me.
I love the fact it took him 4 episodes to figure that out. She'd been making it known since episode 1.
It could have been sooner, but we also should talk about the other tribe that got really, it's the most mixed one out of everyone. So speaking of which, did you two notice that at the tribe swap, there was an entire challenge set up behind them that we did not see. So for anyone who needs to go back and see it, it was that challenge, if you're familiar with other seasons of Survivor, where there's a cylinder and you balance a ball on top of it and you use 2 stoppers to balance the ball on top, and then you add sections each time. Did they just set that up to divert the castaways' attention?
Yeah, because it looks like a hero challenge, like, because it was just one. It looked like they were probably just going to do like what they did in Cambodia. One person does it. From my perspective, anyway. I could be wrong, Phil.
Yeah, no, I 100% think that the reason why they did that was that they didn't walk up there and go, why are we all meeting together where there's no challenge? I mean, that would just give away that there's a spot. 100% that's why they did that. Yes.
I just kept laughing. Yes, there were the actual tables where the challenge is on. That's great. But they also set up an entire platform that was probably like very, very deep and very wide. And I was like, who set this whole entire stage up only for it not to happen? Well, the PAs or something like that.
Question as well, actually, saying that you picked things up. Did you also pick up because I saw this during the intro, the buffs were being tossed mid-air, and apparently that symbolized the swap later on in the episode. Sorry, I found that out and just wanted to try and bring that in
they've
somewhere.
been changing that one section in the opening intro. They add a new clip into it each week. I think that's pretty clever. I'm excited to see how that is going about. Yeah. Phil, let's talk about this new Bello, the most mixed tribe out of the original groups, out of the new groups. It's Austin, Brando, Drew, Kendra, and Emily. Let's talk about Emily for a second, who's changing up her strategy. From a narrative perspective, what do you hope to see Emily accomplish while on this tribe?
I mean, I hope that Emily leaves with some allies. I hope that she gets to the merge with more people on her side. I mean, that's ultimately what she has to do. And it's interesting. We got the confessional from Drew where he goes, I thought this woman was terrible from what we saw on the barge. I thought that she was mean. I thought that she was crass. Like, people are before meeting her, until she changes the perspective, people are going to think about her simply from her barge comment to Bruce, which is not a very good look. So I am really hoping that she can get to the merge with some extra allies, and it seems like she is already well on her way there. But overall here, what do I think about the new Bello? I think it's wild that Drew and Austin ended up on the same tribe again. I think it's insane. Not to mention, they are on Bello tribe, Tribe Beach, the only Tribe Beach to not find an idol yet. The fact that Austin and Drew, the people that already have so many advantages, are on a Tribe Beach now where there is an advantage that has not been found is very, very interesting to me. I hope that they find it. I do.
Yeah, me too. Add another.
Sorry, and they are going to know that it is different than what they had, because they're going to see very clearly that they don't have the code on their tribe flag. So they're going to go, oh, okay, it's something different. Let's look.
Well, also, Emily mentioned the wax, right? So they knew that their idol wasn't in wax, and she told them all about Sabaya putting the wax in the fire and how insane that tribal council was. I mean, Emily was being very open with her information, and she said that was her strategy, right? She wanted to make it seem like she had no more secrets left in the game. And I think it was a pretty smart thing to do, especially with this new tribe, but I gotta guarantee it's a risk. And I love what you said, Phil. It's so funny that there is a chance that Austin and Drew may find this other idol as well on Bello Beach. Oh, I cannot wait.
I can.
I know.
I love Drew. No, I know. Do you know what? It was actually funny that it was them two that got it, and like them two stuck together. But I definitely think this is like the best thing for Emily, because she, like, both of them, well, because we only saw Drew and Austin kind of speak. We didn't get a confessional from Kendra or Brando this episode. But you did hear them all go, Emily's been put in this middle position. But they also, like, Emily was the one that said, you know, they could pick me off. But everyone has just basically put Emily in the middle. So Emily's gone from this really bad position to being in a great middle position, And she actually has the choice because it sounds like Drew and Austin are going to go, we don't want to work with Kendra and Brando. So they are going to put her in the middle intentionally and give Emily the power, which it benefits Emily. Like, let's be fair. So I'm happy to see this growth, like this gain growth from her, and I hope it benefits her a lot more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Austin said in the episode he wants to pull Emily in to work with him and Drew, because otherwise, let's say they all vote Emily out because she is the only person to not have another from her original tribe with her. Let's say they all vote her out. Then it becomes 2 versus 2. And it becomes Austin and Drew versus Kendra and Brando. So for both of those couples, there is more of a chance of the person they are in an alliance with or arrived on the same beach with flipping against them. Mm-hmm. And honestly, actually, in my opinion, no, Kendra and Brando do have a pretty good relationship. So it's interesting. I wonder how much Austin and Drew found out about to what extent Kendra and Brando are actually aligned or not, and vice versa.
I think it will completely depend on what they pitch to Emily, because I think Emily is a very logical person that if she hears that there's Drew and Austin that are like that, and then also they're saying they have Dee and Mama Julie, great. But she'll think she might be the 5th. Whereas if she has Kendra and look at it,
trying to figure out how to do that. Okay.
I got that finger. It's fine. But you've got Brando and Kendra who aren't really the closest, but do still have key people that they work with. But it looks like there's more wiggle room. I think Emily would potentially go with that side if she sees the wiggle room that she has there. If she looks at Austin and Drew and goes, yeah, we're a 3, but then doesn't take into account D and J, we don't know. But all we saw this episode was Emily obviously becoming very close with, bonding, shall I say, with Drew and Austin. So I think next episode, it will depend on the pitch that Kendra and Brando make.
And if I'm not mistaken, on the next time on, we see the 3 of them talking. So
yep.
It's only time will tell. We'll see.
Yeah. And we got some insight right into Drew's ultimate plan with this as well, which is not just short term, but he's also thinking long term. He's thinking at the merge, the majority group is going to be him, Austin, Julie, Dee, and adding Emily as the addition. I'm not sure if that's officially the majority, but we'll see when they merge. And it's still a significant group that each one can probably get more numbers into. Phil, you brought up the next time on Survivor thing. What happened to the previously on Survivor at the beginning of the episodes? We don't get it anymore. I'm not too upset because we do get the recap of what happened, but yeah, I haven't heard Jeff's voice actually say previously on Survivor anymore. And I don't know how I feel about it.
Yeah, no, it's nice. You're right. For a second, I was like, there was definitely a recap, but you're right. It's not announced, which is like what was special, you know? So yeah, it is pretty crummy. I'm happy that we get a recap at all. I mean, I do like to have like the real quick flash cut of everything that happened or everything significant that happened in the previous episode. It's a nice little reminder. But yeah, come on, Jeff. Just give us a lead. Please. That's all we ask. Please.
Well, let's take a really quick break. And then why don't we talk about what we think is going to be the next time on Survivor as the season continues.
What's up, guys? I'm Todd Herzog, the winner of Survivor China, and I want to welcome you to Todd's Pop Shop. Here, me and my husband Jess, we custom make Funko Pops. We'll make literally anybody or anything you could imagine. But being that we're here listening to the Survivor Now podcast, I'm assuming you're all Survivor fans. So take a look at these. Some custom Funkos of your favorite Survivor winners, Sandra and Yul. Or how about Big Brother fans? Suri Goddess herself playing the game of Big Brother. You can also get her in Survivor form. Or maybe yourself with your favorite buff and a torch playing the game. But even better, get yourself with your favorite player like Nora here with Ozzy. And since you're listening to the Survivor Now podcast, if you mention this ad, you will get $10 off your first order and free shipping. All season long, Survivor 45 should be a good one. Mention this ad, $10 off and free shipping. I'll be watching too, still a diehard fan to this day. Hit me up on Instagram, Todd's Pop Shop, or toddspopshop@gmail.com, or on Facebook, and I will see you soon.
You know, one of the people who are in our fantasy draft who places in the top 3, I forget which placement it actually is, but will win a custom Funko Pop from Todd. So Ollie, if you were to win one custom Funko Pop of a player from this season, who would you want it to be?
I have no idea, Jay Meyer. Probably Jay Meyer, but we still got a lot of the season to go, so that could change. But currently, sorry.
Let's go let you finish there, Ollie. Man, if I had to pick one, I'll go with Drew. Only because I want to see if he would also be elongated, if he'd be like a really long pop doll. I feel like he would look interesting in pop form because it would just be a short version of Drew. More out of curiosity than anything else.
That's actually that's very clever. I like that as well. I think I would probably pick, for me, it's between Emily and Julie right now. Of who would I want a pop of? So how about this? I'll win the Emily one, and then I'll just purchase the Julie one just to have a nice complete set, right? That's a good idea. Yes. So we talked a lot about the episode as it was. We talked about Tribal Council. We talked about what came out of Tribal Council. But now we have some possible story opportunities to discuss as to what is officially going to happen. So let's start with, I think one of the things that I left most interested in seeing was the dynamic between who's left on Reba. So we have Jay Maya, Dee, Sifu, and Julie. Who do we think is in the position of power here at this point? I would say Julie.
Yes. Depending on what she does with it. I will say that because I think if she goes against Dee, because I feel like Dee is that very much that person of, I am with you until you give me a reason not to be. And I think if Julie gives her that reason, Dee will be like, Jay, come with me. We'll both go together. And then, but again, that is a thing of, it would then be interesting because you'd have Dee and Jay, but then you'd have Julie and Sifu. But it's that tribe I have a lot of questions on anyway, because I want to see what happens first to then get the picture.
Okay.
I would be blown away if Dee and Julie separate after just one small little fracture. I together. I think Julie's in the power position, absolutely. At the end of the day, Dee just voted for Sifu, so that's a bit of a speed bump for her. Sifu got a vote and was supposed to be the consensus vote. He is not in a good place. And Jay Maya, despite what she says, no one is listening to her, which is unfortunate, and I don't think she's in the best position either. I think Julie's absolutely in the best position.
Yeah. It's funny, Ollie, something that you said also that I picked up on was the fact that people that Dee was aligned with did not turn on her, but they did sort of keep information from her, and she forgave them. So I don't know if I would confidently say that Dee is the type of person who would say, okay, you tricked me once, I'm no longer working with you. Because we saw earlier in the season that Drew and Austin hid some stuff from her and Julie, and she still helped them find the idol. So I don't know, but I do think that Julie is in the best position. I think it's not like a solid one. I think there's still a tightrope that has to be played very delicately, because I think, Phil, as you said, Jay Maya orchestrated the plan against Sifu. Dee actually voted against Sifu. So also kind of weirdly, I know that Sifu was the plan here, but I weirdly feel like he's actually at a slightly better position after this. Yes, he's not out of the game, but even amongst the tribe, I wonder if there's going to be some more wiggle room for Sifu here.
I think it's how he because obviously from the preview we saw that he was like boom boom explode. So I think if he explodes on everyone, But if he can actually keep his calm, he could be all right.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what Sifu does from here as well. I think it's interesting because he's been more of a character than a player, if I can say so. I think that he has been spending the entire time doing very chauvinistic, peacocky sort of like activities around Tribe, but around the camp. But at the end of the day, I don't think anyone really took him seriously. I don't think anyone really held him to a high degree. Even when Jay Maya called him a threat, even when I was watching that, I was like, but is he a threat? Like, I don't know if he's a threat. He's strong, and he's maybe like he was searching for idols in the beginning. But at the end of the day, strategically, it feels like he has been completely off the beat the entire show. And I think that sometimes it takes that sort of kick of the tush to be like, hey, we're playing a game here. You can be voted out at any time. And I think this vote hopefully is going to turn him into a player. And so in my mind, I think when I says the tick, 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 boom, whatever, I feel like it's him snapping himself into player mode. And I really hope that it is that. It's not him blowing up on a bunch of women on his tribe. Actually, more surprised about that. I'd be more surprised with that than him just being like, oh my God, I'm now realizing I'm in a terrible spot. I just got to vote. Something needs to change here.
Go ahead, Ollie.
No, I was going to say, I think the thing with Sifu is the start of the season, we saw him and he was like obviously doing all of the Tony stuff, like spying. And I think what he did unintentionally, was he gave people the ammo to put a target on his back. So I'm hoping what would benefit him is someone coming to him and saying, this is what we saw, this is what we were told. And then Sifu can come forward and be like, no, this is this, this is this, this is this. Let's now clean slate go. That I think would help and benefit him. Because again, I think what he intentionally did when he was very hyper and he's very excited, which I really did appreciate in the first episode, but I think he maybe didn't take into account people seeing that and going, well, clearly he's going to be looking for idols. Clearly he's going to be unpredictable. Like, I think he gave himself an unpredictable energy about himself that made people worry. So I think if he can reassure people that he's not just a wild card, that could help him.
It's that unpredictable reputation that he sort of put on himself, maybe unknowingly. I have a soft spot for Sifu, not only because Sifu is on my fantasy draft. I was so nervous. You have no idea. The thought of Randy posting, if you follow us on Instagram at Survivor Now Podcast, the thought of one of my circles being darkened out and losing a tribe member, I was like, oh, I was not ready for it. So I was actually a little excited at the end of the episode. But I also, to your point, Phil, he's so funny. Like, I just like watching him. There's this energy on screen that Sifu brings that I just like, I'm really enjoying about him. And I don't think he's a great game player at this point in time in the game of what we've seen of him so far. Clearly things have gotten very real for him, right? He sees what could happen, but I thought it was so funny, like all of the excitement of the first couple of episodes that we saw from him, him coming into Tribal, I mean, like, whoa, this is so cool. Like, look at that. And then Julie not being able to make eye contact with him because she, to her knowledge, was about to vote him out. But it was, it's exciting. I like seeing players that are aware that it is a game at the end of the day, and games are meant to be fun. I know that the $1 million at the end, I mean, it's big stakes. I'm not going to deny that, but it is also fun seeing someone kind of treating this as like a game night of some sort, right? Like, we're just going to have fun together. The thing with Sifu that I am most looking forward to is I do hope that he's able to rebound from this and end up in the better position. Maybe he'll be more open. Maybe him and Julie will have a better relationship after this because she didn't write his name down. I'm interested to see that. But yeah, maybe like Emily, maybe Sifu is going to get some pointers about how he could better shape his game moving forward.
Yeah. I'm excited to see the Sifu evolution. I really am. And I hope that it has, I mean, maybe not quite the full Gabler arc, but I certainly hope, I mean, look, this is what I'll say. Episode 4, of what was that, 43? We looked at Gabler as a fool. It was like, okay, he's putting palm fronds on his tri-baits while they're sleeping and they're annoyed by it. He's doing all this goofy stuff. There was, it's people can transform themselves in these games. Just seeing themselves or seeing people on episode 4, 3, 2 act a certain way, there can always be a metamorphosis. I even think Marianne is a great example. Marianne, I'll keep it real, I did not take very seriously until halfway through the season. I was like, oh my God, she's working now. But for a while, it was just like, okay, it's this person that's talking about having a crush on someone else in the other tribe, big smile, laughing. It's, yes, I agree, David. I agree. We do not need another Gabler arc, but I would be very excited to see how Sifu can transform from this. Again, I think it's very important for people to be snapped back into, oh my God, this is a game, I can be voted off. And I think that him getting a vote tonight clearly shook him. He's sitting there at the end going, well, hugging Sean goodbye. He's going, did you vote for me? Did you vote? He's
right.
He wants to figure this out. I think that he is in game mode now, and I'm excited to see what that looks like.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's, I have high hopes, right? I have high hopes. I don't want one of my drafted picks to go anytime soon, so I'm going to ride this positive train. And I think this also brings us in our last 10 minutes. Let's talk about being a personality on reality television, because I got to thinking, I was listening to some of the post-exit interviews with Sean. I was listening to some more podcasts related to the game that we all love. And I really just try to stick to the ones where we hear from the players or the producers in particular at this point. But it got me wondering about crafting a storyline for yourself, actively knowing what type of role that you want the audience to perceive you as on cameras. And I thought it was really interesting to have this discussion of what makes a really good, authentic player, and what are some of the ways future players can kind of go into the game with a clean slate about them without any sort of expectations about how they are going to be perceived. Have either of you ever thought about this when it comes to some of the castaways that we've seen on Survivor, or maybe even other reality TV shows that we watch?
Absolutely. I think that a lot of times you are selling yourself when you're trying to be cast on a show. And I think that once you actually make it on the island, in this case, in the house, we're talking Big Brother, wherever they're starting the race, an Amazing Race, whenever you make it on, I personally always wish that people would drop whatever got them cast, because I think that sometimes people lean so far into this caricature, is what I would really call it, that got them cast and they can't drop it. And they're still walking around being like, oh, well, this is why you casted me, so I have to play this up on 100% all the time. It's like, dude, you're on the show now. Just be you, be human. And that's really what I see as the biggest separator between people that are coming across authentic and not. There are people that are still holding on to that soundbite that got them cast on the show, and they just keep repeating it over and over and over again. And it's like, dude, you're on the show already. Just be you. That's my take on that.
Perfect.
Sorry.
We were suddenly on
it visually seemed like you agreed with me, so I was like, yeah.
No, I was going to say the perfect example of you saying that this season is Emily. She came in with this big bravado of, this is how I am, this is what got me casted, and now we're seeing the growth of Emily and seeing her being herself and being more human. I definitely agree. I think when you're in that casting process, you want to sell yourself, and you're like, right, what do I know that I can bring that will be good? But I think as well, you have to think, what can I bring? But also, what can I bring that will benefit the show? But then also, how is that me? Because I think I don't see, and I always see people that go on shows and they just bring what they thought it really gets like boring and annoying because it's one thing. And it depends on what the show is. Like Big Brother, I'm just going to refer to Big Brother UK because it's just started. We don't need to watch it. But a lot of people have gone on there, and it's very clear the ones that have gone on, and they're like, my thing is I'm outspoken, I'm opinionated, and I'm going to say how I feel. And that's gotten old really quickly because now the public is seeing these certain individuals and they can't be bothered with them. But you then see the people that, yep, this is what got me on the show, but now here are all the other layers and I'm just going to be me. And I think that's what you need to do, like you said, Phil, to like carry on and actually present yourself in a light that people enjoy and people root for, and you see your development as a person. Sorry, I went on a right tangent.
No, that was great. And I think, well, first I want to show this comment from Chris, who says, Phil, you had a great point, and only do the good bits from that persona, not everything entirely. I think there's like, when it comes to making television, whether you are a performer doing a character or you are just being yourself in front of cameras, when you get in front of cameras, right, like what we're doing right now, it does bring other parts of your personality out. And I can't even imagine what it would be like to be on an island where there are set pieces around, where there are cameras and equipment that are not really a part of the island when you're not there, like just sort of trying to forget that you are creating a show. So I think it's all very fascinating. You know, we listened to a couple, like, I guess some of the producers on the more official podcasts have talked about like crafting narratives. And I think it's a really interesting discussion. I want to answer some of these questions that are coming in through our live chat. As a reminder, if you are joining us on today's stream, you can talk to us through the live chat. And of course, we always love hearing comments from you as well after the stream. And so I want to start with Chris's question right here. What food and drink do you consume while watching Survivor? Chris, I can go first. I stick to water, and that is because I never know when Randy is going to call me up and say, you need to be on the podcast tonight. So I stick with water to get my voice nice and ready. Ollie, I see you're already munching on something. What are those?
They're little chocolate buttons. I'll just eat and snack. We all know me. I'll eat and snack anytime.
Nice. Phil, do you have a food of choice?
I am at my most gluttonous when I watch Survivor. I will eat the greasiest of meals. I like a good burger and fries. I use that as an excuse to go crazy. I say, oh, I'm going to have real soupy pasta, whatever. I'm truly at my most gluttonous when I watch Survivor. It's an event. Those calories don't count.
The irony.
Go on. Krispy Kreme donuts, Dairy Queen, lay it on me.
I love that. Do you sort of feel like, haha, I get to eat and you don't?
You know what's funny? Not necessarily, but I do think that thought has definitely come across my mind, but it's not an active thought every single time.
I would do the same. Let's go to David's comment. Has anyone who ever referred to themselves in the third person ever won Survivor? Will Sifu be the first? David, I loved when Sifu did this. When he said, "Who voted Sifu?" I laughed. I don't know why. It was a genuine question, and he needed to know. But it was so genuine, and I loved it. It made me laugh. It really did. I don't know if anyone who's referred to the third person.
I do know. It absolutely. Sandra Diaz-Twine, are you guys crazy?
There you go.
Sandra has referred to Sandra more times than we can count.
There's been a fair few, I think.
Yes. Yeah. Boston Rob also, I would not be surprised. Boston Rob rules. The Boston Rob rules, whatever. I would not be surprised. Boston Rob, I'm still kind of iffy on. Sandra, I know for sure, has referred to herself as the third person.
My brain goes to Marianne. I feel like Marianne might have done it like a couple of times.
Maybe, yeah.
Maybe. I can't deny it. Marianne did come to mind, but I can't confirm.
Yes, Sandra is the only one that I know for sure. So I don't want to be out here being like, I cannot be as confident about everyone else. Sandra has 1,000,000% referred to herself and won the game twice.
Absolutely.
She's queen. So referring to herself is queen. That's like her nickname, queen.
We have this question from Gold Wolf. Wasn't there supposed to be a 40-year anniversary magazine for the show, Gold? Like for I don't think we're
Does
at
he mean
40
40
years yet.
season
I
anniversary?
hope we're not 40 years yet. We're not.
No, we're not. We're not.
No,
We're
we're
not.
not kidding. It's 2 per year.
Publication. You know, I'm not sure. I'm
No.
not sure. I think that would be cool though. If maybe a virtual magazine at this point. I think that would be really awesome if we got a nice spread.
There was a 45 thing, wasn't there, of Jeff? There was a 45 thing.
I mean, Jeff
On one of them.
Jeff is on all the key art, which is funny in itself.
Hmm.
But yeah, I don't know.
No, I think there was a publication that did Jeff for 45. I feel like there was. I'll have a look. I feel like
That would
it was a
be
US
interesting.
publication.
It would be honestly one day I'm looking forward to like maybe let's do a landmark year, maybe Survivor 50 or something. Doing like I would be interested in a Survivor documentary. I know that the whole show is like a documentary, but like I think it would be cool if it makes it more, which we hope it does. I think it'd be really cool to see sort of a more in-depth behind the scenes as to why the show is as successful as it's been. I think that's really awesome. Chris says they definitely did a lot of promotions for 45. Felt like more than they went all out with the Survivor 45 promotions. I agree. We saw all the buffs appear all over the United States. I thought that was so clever. I really enjoyed that. And in New York City, I think they lit up the Empire State Building with the colors of the different tribes. I think that's really cool.
We love to see Survivor doing really good publicist job. And we love to see promoting of the US season. Wish we saw it for the UK season. Sorry, did I say that out loud?
Well, we have some exciting news. If you haven't heard yet already, Ollie, myself, and Randy will be covering Survivor UK. We're excited to get started. It's happening soon. I believe the premiere date for the episodes themselves are in a week on October 28th. Correct me if I'm wrong, Ollie. But we're very excited to get started, and we'll also be talking to the castaways as they exit. So we're really, really eager to talk to you all about that too. With that, Phil and Ollie, as always, it's been a pleasure, and we will be back next week to talk about episode 5.
Please, nobody quit.